Hello and welcome to yet another episode of Fresh Off the Boat. This is our podcast series in the light of COVID. We wanted to make sure that our students who are currently in college or currently planning to go to college uh, can communicate and hear stories of students I've known over the last 2 decades. Today's guest is Yashodhara Kundra. She graduated from La Martiniere for girls in Kolkata in 2016. And then she chose to attend Beloit University, or is it college?
College, yes.
Beliot College. It's a liberal arts college and chose to study psychology and creative writing. So we'll get to know about your journey. So the first question, Yashodhara, to you is,
Mhm.
did you have other overlap schools you were considering when you were admitted? And how was the Beloit choice like for you? And did it meet your expectations?
Yes, so this is one thing that I think I have a definite answer for by now. So I did apply to, a lot of small liberal arts schools in the Midwest in the beginning, like Knox and Grinnell and all of those. But my final two that I ended up with were Beloit College and the College of Worcester. A lot of it was based on the kind of communication I'd had with the faculty and staff of the college. So I still remember all the names and like the faces of the people who I met because um, it really mattered to me at that point because I was on a different continent completely. I couldn't visit these colleges, and the only way I had to choose was to put a face to the names I was seeing over email. And yeah, I guess in the end, that's why I ended up choosing Beloit because of the online community that I'd already met before choosing my college. They had a really nice Facebook group where everybody was talking to each other, introducing each other to professors and everything, even. So, yeah, I think the personal connect really made me choose Beloit over Worcester. Um, and then, yeah, when I got there, it was not exactly what I'd imagined, but over the years, I started to find things that I definitely am glad that made me feel like I'm glad that I went there instead of the other place. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit about the setting, Beloit College. The vision you have of leafy campuses, small liberal arts schools, and what's the setting like? What's it to live not just on campus but around campus?
Right. So Beloit is a small town. First of all, it's about an hour and a half from Chicago. Um, it's not a very big town, but it has a good amount of the population is a good amount. And our campus is a small residential campus, and everything is very close together. It's a very pretty campus, and recently we had a powerhouse built, which has been in the news and stuff a lot because it's a big building with like a lot of game rooms and this and that. So it's been a good place to live in, and there's like a bus system that connects us to Chicago. So if you want on the weekends and stuff, you can go visit Chicago, go downtown, and these buses are also directly connect to other big cities in the Midwest. So Madison, Milwaukee, and everything. So you can go there. And the downtown area is, yeah, it really caters to what students want. So there's small cafes around. There's, an organic grocery store. It's called Bushel and Peck. And there's also like a really cute cafe called Flying Pig where you get bubble tea and stuff. So I guess that really sits well with the international students that come there. Yeah.
That's
And
great.
residence halls are really nice too.
Super. So settling in was not a problem. You sort of found friends, or was it something different for you?
Yeah, well, I think for me, it went in a reverse order. I did make a lot of friends online before I went there. And I did meet up with a lot of them, when I first went. And like the first week was confusing. I was exhausted because I was meeting everybody in person. And what I realized was that sometimes making friends has to be a more organic process where, sometimes people you just meet online, they don't turn out to be what you expected them to be. And as time passed, the first few weeks, people started to form their own groups and everything. And I accidentally met my best friend. We ended up being roommates and like sorority sisters and everything over the past like few years. We've lived together for 2 years now. So I guess yeah, it was exciting. It was a surprising process, I think, making friends. And with the settling in, I think the biggest issue I guess I had was not realizing that I could be homesick because I was so excited to leave and I was always prepared for it. Like when in India, you want to study abroad, you start preparing at a young age for it. So we take the SATs, we take like PSATs and everything. So when I thought when I would finally get there, I would just be glad. I wouldn't worry about what's going on back home. But after a while, it did start to hit me that, okay, um, I'm isolated, I'm very far away. And if there's something that if I want to go home, I can't just go home. So I guess in the first few weeks, I was still dealing with that emotion. And it took me a while to like realize that it's okay. It doesn't make you weak in any way if you like miss home and miss your family and everything. Yeah.
Well said. I think it's the social adaptability curve in a new environment, and
Mhm.
everyone has to go through that. And you did it in your own with your own strengths, so that's
Mhm.
super. Switching gears to academics, uh, so tell us your journey. Did you go decided into your major, and what all did you explore? Since it's a liberal arts school, I'm sure there are amazing opportunities to learn different things, not just
Mhm.
from the classes you sign up for, but from even the conversations you have with your friends.
Mhm.
What is it about Beloit? What is it well known for? What is it that you chose?
Yeah. So the thing is that when I was younger, I was terrified of math. So part of me was always like, I just want to go into something where I don't have to do math. And trying to avoid that, I ended up taking psychology in school. And I ended up loving it. So I sort of went decided into college, that I want to do psychology. But I ended up doing creative writing with it because of my passion for literature and stories and everything. And that's one good thing about liberal arts, how flexible it is. Um, it was a lot of coursework having two majors. So I had to meet the requirements for both of them. But I think I got a good amount of knowledge out of it. And talking about what's good at Beloit, I feel like the basic things. A liberal arts school. One of the reasons I chose to go to one is because I thought it would be good if I could directly interact with my professors, be in smaller classrooms. It actually really benefited me. I feel because when I was in a classroom, even outside, I could just walk up to my professor to ask questions, or sometimes we'd just bond over our research interests that overlap, and we just informally start doing a project or paper. This way, actually, I got started doing this project. It was called Decolonizing Psychology, which we actually got funding for. We just started with a conversation where I brought up to my professor that, hey, I feel like we just keep using the same examples of mostly white psychologists, white neo-psychologists. So we started looking for a database of psychologists from around the world that we could use. So just like that, I feel like the good thing about Beloit is that sometimes big things come out of just small classroom conversations. And yeah, I feel like that's something that really enhanced my learning.
So, if you were to look at tracks in psychology and you have a senior year requirement, maybe a thesis or essays to submit,
Mhm.
presentations, how did you decide and what is available, first of all, for a layman, for a student who's just thinking of psychology in high school? What is it? What are the different tracks that are available at a school like Beloit?
Okay, so at Beloit Psychology specifically, they design major requirements based on. So what you get is a little bit of everything you need to go to graduate school for psychology. So you start off with introduction, and then you have to do some courses in social psychology, some courses in cross-cultural psychology, some in developmental psychology, and then some statistics classes, and then the main abnormal psychology classes where you learn about personality disorders, about psychotherapy and stuff. And I guess the higher you go, the more specific things get. So what you can do is actually there's some courses where you get a choice between You can take either childhood development or cross-cultural psychology methods, to tailor to your interests, so what you want to go into later. And your advisor really helps you chalk that plan out when you're a freshman, and then you can keep adding. It's like a dynamic process that way. I ended up choosing clinical psychology as my future specialty. So then I took classes like psychotherapy, statistics and research methods. I took some cross-cultural diagnosis classes and things like that. That would be good for me. But also a good thing is that to finish a psychology major at Beloit, you need to take some classes outside psychology, depending on what you want to do. So I took human biology because I wanted to concentrate on health too. But in a similar way, you can take classes about race and class, or about even economics sometimes, and sociology classes, to based on what you want to do later. So I feel like
Great.
that way it's really, yeah.
So do you also have a senior year thesis requirement
Hmm.
which you have to fulfill?
So we have capstones. So capstones are like the high level classes that you get into only if you are interested, or you've done some prerequisites. In that case, for me, it was psychotherapy, where you learn counseling skills. But for some, it is a thesis where they can design their own thesis. For some, it's even a community project where they go out and volunteer or intern at a like counseling clinic and stuff.
Yeah,
So
that was
that
actually going to be my next question. It
Mhm.
has to be some practicum also, right?
Mhm.
So, what are the opportunities you sort of did to sort of explore how you put things into practice in
Mhm.
clinical psychology,
Yeah.
internships or research and
Mm.
such that?
So, Beloit College, to get a degree, you need to fulfill a liberal arts and practice requirement, which is you doing something outside the classroom. Um, for me, it was actually an English course. It was called Beloit Fiction Journal, where a bunch of students edit our college's fiction journal. But I also did an internship and the research project that I talked about earlier, which was a part of my psychology major. I interned with Umeed Counseling Services in Calcutta. And I was working under a bunch of clinical psychologists, and I did a study on depression. And that translated to credits back at Beloit College. And then the research project I talked about decolonizing psychology, which was me making a database of literature. Those are things that I did, but people do lot more different things.
Sure, you also sort of stumbled upon, or kind of by design, maybe went into creative writing. How was
Mhm.
that? What was the inspiration, and how was that journey?
It was honestly beautiful. In the beginning, I just ended up taking one English class because I felt like I couldn't get into intro to psychology my first semester, actually. So I had no psychology class for one semester. So I ended up taking English classes. And I loved it. Just the professors, the material, the way they taught it, like I would go into class and I would forget that time exists. And I think that's a good sign. Like that means that you're enjoying the class you're in. And then I just decided to declare the major. I decided if I couldn't finish it later, I could just make it a minor or something. But I ended up completing. I ended up taking more classes than I had to. And honestly, it's been such a personal journey, especially with the creative writing, with the professors, the classes, and everything. You end up making a community, a classroom, especially in like workshop classes. That's a thing in small colleges, definitely, where you basically share your work with everybody in the class. And then you take time and everybody critiques your work. And that way you get to know strangers in such a personal way. Uh, and I think that's really nice. I really grew as a writer in general and a person even because of that.
Okay, that's amazing. So tell us a little bit about the sorority and other social groups that you joined on campus.
Yeah.
How was it like, and the vision or the myths people have about sororities, especially in a smaller school. What is the need of a Greek system, uh, other than the social and maybe the partying aspect? What did that actually turn out to be for you?
Right. So I was getting, I guess in the beginning, I was very open to making a lot of friends. I was open to trying new things because, I specifically remember in high school, you kind of, because I went to school, the same school from when I was 2 to when I was 18. So I had the same group of friends my whole life, and I was excited to branch out. So I was a little brave. I walked into this sorority that in the beginning was all white, completely white. And I had no idea what to expect. But on the first day itself, I met the girl who ended up being my big. And it was very different than what I'd expected because, even though I grew up like learning so much about what happens in colleges in America, movies and social media and everything, it was very different. Everybody was sweet, especially my sorority Kappa Delta. On the first day, we were told that, all the hazing and everything that you see, we don't do that. Our nationals don't allow that. There were rules and stuff, but I guess all of them were very reasonable. And, I didn't know in the beginning going into it as an international student, sometimes you see yourself doubting yourself, like, is this even legal? Like, am I even supposed to do this on my visa? Uh, but yeah, it was great. I went in there. I made a lot of friends. I ended up visiting some of them in their hometowns and everything. Um, I actually felt like I made a good difference there, and I would say that to anybody watching this who's scared of that life. That go in. Sometimes maybe you can bring them a perspective that they haven't seen before. Once I went in there, we started talking more about how homogeneous the group of people was, and we started to recruit more openly. And now we have so many more people open to joining this because we started to educate our campus about, okay, this is not just for a certain group of people. And the whole partying thing and all that, it wasn't really a thing for me because Kappa Delta isn't allowed to have parties. But in general, on a small college campus, I visited some more too. I don't think you can expect anything you have at big colleges, but it's something really special when people actually party. It feels very close.
That's great. I think it's part of the social life and sort of binding people together to meet
Mhm.
outside of the whole academic
Mhm.
conversation, which
Yeah.
dominates your workday. Uh,
Mhm.
Fantastic. So tell me a bit about your plans going forward. I know things are pretty uncertain for everyone who's graduating this year.
Mhm.
What are
Yeah.
your plans and how are you dealing with uncertainty?
So I guess I wasn't prepared going into this. I had plans, especially for international students. When you become a senior, you start thinking about, okay, do I want to stay here? Do I want to go back? Do I want to go somewhere else? And for me, I feel like I spread my wings too far. When I started studying for my GRE last year, I applied to schools in the US and the UK. And I also started to look for jobs and everything. I was going like full speed. But then everything was cut short by Corona. And I did get into all the schools I applied to. I applied for master's programs in clinical mental health counseling. But now the funding, like, I got an assistantship, but it's not sure anymore. So that's why I've decided to go back home, and I'm now going to work as a marketing manager for AVR Enterprises in Kolkata. It's going to be what I do for now, but actually, I'm trying to look at the positive side of this. I may change my mind from a master's and straight away apply for a PhD next year because I do want to be a clinical psychologist. But yeah, I'm trying to make the best of what has been given to us today.
That's yeah, so it's definitely the positive frame of mind. In fact, you've answered part of my next question. I was about to ask you what three words or adjectives would you pick to describe your strengths?
Mhm.
So we already know positivity, but yeah, if you want to share maybe a
Yeah.
few more.
I would say resilience. Um, I'm an English major. I should be better at this. I feel like I'm resilient. I am hardworking, and um, I take initiative.
Okay,
That's one
that's
good
great.
thing. Yeah.
Super. Next one is if you were to look at your high school, college life, what were embarrassing moments or mistakes you made or failures you learned something from? What was the reflection?
Hmm. Um, I guess embarrassment, I wouldn't say that much. I feel like mistakes. Did you say high school too? Because that whole
Yeah,
thing,
including
like
this.
high school, the only issue is I was too scared to break apart from the group of people I was around and be different in any way, it feels like the end of the world sometimes to do something different. But I think in college, that's the one thing that I love to do: be different, do different things, start things. I actually founded like the South Asian Students Association at my college because I realized that that's something we could do now because more people were coming there from South Asia. And one thing I would say is that when you go to a small liberal arts school from India directly out of high school, you may feel like you know everything, but you don't. Be it inclusive language, be it understanding other identities, be it understanding how to exist in that educational system. A simple thing like I didn't know how to write a paper when I first went into college. We were never taught about, what APA is, what MLA is, let alone like what plagiarism is. So these are things that I feel like in the beginning were very embarrassing, that I would accidentally plagiarize, or I would like mess up my formatting on my papers, or I wouldn't know what to say in certain social situations. The whole getting used to using a gender neutral pronoun, or what a gender neutral pronoun is, or what a sorority is, or just small things like that that you you don't learn it in your culture, and you need to be open to it when you come to college, which I've realized with time slowly. And I feel like I've grown for the better because of it. Yeah.
Great. So I have one more question for you,
Mhm.
and that's about the COVID era. What has this time taught you? You touched upon it a little bit about remaining positive, but what are the few things you would do once things become close to normal, back to normal?
Go to a restaurant. It's damn terrible. Me and my roommate just got a car this semester, and we were going out, and suddenly the world shut down. It was terrible. But honestly speaking, when I first heard that college was going to be shut down now, that it won't be in person anymore, I just remember like I just remember that feeling from like when I walked out of like a classroom for the last time and I didn't know it. And I just wish I could go back and sit in a classroom and say bye to the people I never got to say bye to. I guess that comes with being a graduating senior. I can't get all that back, but I'm hoping I can visit maybe during reunion weekend or something like that later on. And I guess what I learned um, personally during this whole crisis time that we've had the past few months is that how to put what you know into practice. So I do study psychology, I do study about mental health, but I went into like I spiraled in the beginning too. It was too much to handle, and I was anxious, and I was coping in bad ways. But I think it gave me a good platform to help myself out, help my friends out, um, by slowly deconstructing what's happening in my head, by actually using techniques I learned in the classroom in real life. So, deep breathing, diaphragmatic breathing, or like progressive relaxation, or how to not try to normalize the situation and things like that. So, I guess it helped me out. In the beginning, I was really flailing. It was difficult, but I put my mind to it. And yeah, I'm hoping this doesn't go on for a long time. But
Thanks for sharing, and also being honest about what you were dealing even after having studied psychology. But great
yeah.
tips. I'm sure we'll find ways to invite you back to webinars and panels on different topics, studying in small
Mhm.
liberal arts colleges to studying psychology or creative writing. So yeah, our viewers will definitely want Yashodhara to participate in our community, and looking forward to seeing you back in India. All the
Thank
best.
you. Thanks.